Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to present Union Budget for financial year 2026-27 in Parliament today, 9th consecutive budget in a row. India-Arab League adopt New Delhi Declaration, vow zero tolerance towards terrorism, push for UNSC reforms. Amid rising tensions, Iran says work on framework for negotiations with the United States is progressing. And in cricket, India beats New Zealand by 46 runs in the 5th T20. Ishan Kishan scores 103. The Union Budget 2026-27 is set to be presented today by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. She will present her record 9th consecutive Union Budget with expectations high around reforms and planned government expenditure. Budget 2026-27 is being looked at for multiple reasons. India is the fastest growing major economy, but will its growth story be dented by global issues, both geopolitical and the ongoing tariff war? Taxpayers, industry, startups are looking at more relief measures. And what will Finance Minister Sitharaman's Union Budget do to boost India's economy and take it forward on the road to reforms? Stay tuned with DD India for the most comprehensive and continuous coverage of the Union Budget 2026-27 through the day today. Budget expectations are high on tax reforms. Previous budgets have focused heavily on reducing direct taxes for individuals and cooperation to boost disposable income, consumption and corporate investment.
Budget 2026 is expected to send a strong message with bold, people-centric tax reforms. The focus is likely to be on a simpler taxation, a wider tax base and stronger trust, using fiscal policy to boost growth, consumption and investment. Personal taxpayers are hoping for meaningful relief. On indirect taxes, GST reforms remain central. Industry expects rate rationalization, simplified tax structures, fast input tax credit refunds and incentives for long-term investments. For corporates, the demand is clear: stability and predictability in tax policy.
The government should stabilize the tax structures so that it is very crystal clear to everybody. There is just 0 to 1 option, which should be like, it should be in binary. The capital gain, which is taxable, that is kind of stopping lots of investors to invest in a startup. So that should be freed for some more time.
The BFI sector's expectations from the budget are largely about system strength, how well financial intermediaries can mobilize savings and transmit credit efficiently. One key area is tax parity between deposits and bond investments.
Now, talking of the budget of 2026, we expect some more rationalization into slabs, and it will be good if there are only 3 major slabs in terms of direct taxes. We also expect some kind of revision in TDS norms to make sure that businesses have more cash to run.
Recent union budgets underline a clear trend. India's tax policy is becoming simpler and more growth-oriented. Under the new tax regime, income of up to 12 lakh rupees is tax-free, rising to 12.75 lakhs for salary taxpayers with standard deduction. Compliance has improved with rationalized TDS and TCS norms, higher LRS thresholds and decriminalization of minor delays. Custom duties have also been simplified by reducing tariff slabs. Overall, India's tax framework is steadily moving from complexity to simplicity, supporting growth and inclusive development.
Budget 2026 is about encouraging innovation and ensuring that taxation becomes a catalyst in nation's journey towards a resilient and inclusive Bharat. With camera person Mukesh, this is Tripti Tripathi reporting for DD India from New Delhi.
As India gears up to present its union budget, industry experts are also hopeful it will address key economic priorities. They expect the government to continue its focus on key sectors ranging from infrastructure to AI.
We are confident and hopeful that the government will continue to focus on reforms. They will continue to focus on making ease of doing business and the cost of doing the business better for the industry, as well as a continuous focus on infrastructure spend.
I must say that the government has done very well in terms of pushing electrification, whether it is PME drive, lower GST or PLI. I think these things should continue. And the government's focus on infrastructure should also continue, because that leads to a multiplier effect, in fact, in demand generation for commercial vehicles.
From the upcoming union budget, the industry looks for a clear and forward-looking push on three priorities. First, large-scale investments in future-ready talent. Second, a strong focus on digital and physical infrastructure. Third, policy support for sovereign and trusted technology requirements.
We are eagerly looking forward to the budget. From the industry perspective, from the NBFC industry perspective and the financial services, we are looking for a refinance scheme, just like housing finance companies have a refinance from NHB. One of the key concern has been to make the loans affordable for the borrowers. So if there is a credit line which is available at a reasonable rate, we will be able to pass on that benefit to the borrower.
We need to make sure that semiconductors are generated in India. Even the Prime Minister has placed a lot of emphasis on how important AI and innovation is. We need to make sure that semiconductors that empower our country to be leading in AI.
And Indian stock markets will remain open for trading on Sunday, that is February 1st, today, as Union Budget 2026-27 is presented. The special weekend session is being held as the budget falls on a Sunday, allowing investors to respond to policy announcements in real time during market hours. The National Stock Exchange and Bombay Stock Exchange will conduct full trading session, making this only the second instance since independence that the equity markets will operate on a Sunday. Both NSE and BSE will follow standard trading timings. The pre-open session will run from 9 to 9:08 a.m., followed by the normal trading between 9:15 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Trade modification will be allowed until 4:15 p.m. in the afternoon. Let's get some updates from the ground now. DD India correspondent Shyama Mishra is joining us from the financial capital, Mumbai. Shyama, we just informed our viewers stock markets are going to remain open on a Sunday today. How's the industry looking at the upcoming budget?
Well, Shubhendu, it is a day when everybody, including the industry leaders, common people, salaried people, have a lot of expectations, and we believe that a lot of suggestions have already gone to the finance minister as she will be delivering her budget today. On a larger scale, it is always said that the salaried people, the people who are earning income, they have a lot of expectations because they expect the income tax bracket to be extended further. And last time we did see there was a mega gift from the finance minister for up to 12 lakh exemption. And a lot of people, a lot of salaried people are still stuck with the old regime, and they would also want that in the old regime also they would get some kind of concession over there. On a larger scale, when we are talking about industry leaders, there are a lot of expectations, and the main expectation is that the capex should be well maintained, and people are also saying, the industry leaders are also saying, because of the tax collections, there could be some kind of mismatch, and they would want the government to look into that and pay more focus on that. put more focus on that. Other than this, we are also seeing a geopolitical turmoil, a lot of uncertainties relating to the tariffs, and that is why the industry leaders would be expecting the finance minister, the government of India, to put more focus on the domestic sectors which can lead India, which can help lead India to become the Vishwa Guru. We are talking about 2047 to become Viksit Bharat, and that is why many sectors would be playing an important role. The industry leaders, the people are expecting that they'll be thrust on these kind of sectors. We are also expecting the upcoming sectors like the AI, the solar, the semiconductors sector, all these sectors would also have a lot of emphasis over there, because last time we did see that the focus groups of the finance minister, including women, farmers, youth, poor, these were the focus areas, focus group rather, and a lot of attention has to be paid, because if we want the India to be a developed India, we definitely have to focus more on these groups. Same way, in a similar way, there'll be more expectations, there'll be more wants for these kind of sectors, for these kind of groups from the people, and we are expecting that in the upcoming areas, like I've already mentioned, in the AI technology, the blue economy and the space economy, these sectors are also booming, and they are expecting that policy or more investment would be expected in these sectors.
Right. Shyama, take your point, and broadly, the assessment that is presented by the Economic Survey of the state of the economy, it does put India's economy at a rather sweet spot. The inflation is under control. Growth opportunities are queuing up. So it does give more rooms for big ticket reforms for the finance minister.
Definitely, and like I was mentioning earlier, that if we want India to become Viksit Bharat, and the government of India's thrust is totally on that by 2047 we will be achieving it. There has to be a lot of investments, there has to be a lot of policy changes or new policies for these kind of sectors. And as you were mentioning, that the inflation, which was for a very long time the headache of the government of India as well as the Reserve Bank of India, is now under control, and it is likely to be under control. As it is always said from the Reserve Bank of India, that the elephant should be back into the jungle, should be back into the forest, and this has happened. Also from on the EMIs front, on the repo rate front, that has also come down, so that people can have more opportunities to take loans or have more disposable income in their hand, and this in turn will help the country to get more disposable income and help it turn the wheel of development. We are also talking about how large sectors would be needing more investments, like the infrastructure sector that we are talking about. And we know for the fact that India is growing. Even the rural areas of the nation are now getting modernized, and the connectivity, the logistics, they play an important role. And it's not just the roadways, but we are developing, we are expanding in all the ways, including the waterways, airways, roadways, even the railways. So we have seen big ticket reforms in these sectors, and there has been a lot of thrust, not just from the government spending, but also on PPP. So each time government comes out with a policy, they do encourage people from the private sector to come ahead and do the the PPP model of development, because government alone cannot be taking everything in their hands for the development. It has to be the people also. So that is about PPP. We are also talking about, other than infrastructure, we are also talking about how, in the technology, in the new tech sector, India is expanding and India is progressing. Recently, we have seen the AI Impact Summit in India, and we can understand that India is also playing a lead role in this particular area, where India can show a way to the world. But back in the country, we know for the fact that semiconductors, chips, these are things which are still at the nascent stage, and people or the startups who are really into this, they would want the government to pay more attention, and that is how small startups or the MSMEs who are into these sectors, who do supply these kind of raw products to bigger companies, to bigger industries, they can flourish, and that is why these sectors, the MSMEs or the startups, they would want some kind of policy, some kind of attention from the government in this particular budget.
There, Sharma, it's going to be a long day of budget coverage. Good luck with your day. Thank you very much for joining us with those inputs. And ahead of the union budget speech, Finance Minister tabled the Economic Survey 2025-26 in Parliament. This was on January 29th. The Economic Survey serves as a policy guideline document for the budget. It reaffirms faith in India's growth story while striking a note of caution on the impact of global headwinds. Here's more.
India's Economic Survey 2025-26 tabled in Parliament showcases a nation on the move. Resilient, ambitious and firmly positioned as the world's fastest growing major economy.
Vitt Mantri Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman.
Sir, with your permission, I rise to lay on the table a copy each of the following papers, Hindi and English versions. Economic Survey 25-26, Economic Survey 25-26 Statistical Appendix.
With GDP growth projected at 7.4% and gross value added at 7.3%, India continues its streak of leading global growth for the fourth year in a row. Fiscal credibility has been reinforced with stronger revenues and 3 sovereign credit rating upgrades in 2025.
As far as the growth rate that is needed, that mention of 8% is in dollar terms. So if you are able to grow at sustainably at 7% on average, there could be a given year in which it is higher or another year it could be lower, etc. In real terms in Indian rupee, then if you were to add the inflation rate that will be experienced in the United States, for example, minus the inflation rate in India, that is what will give you the dollar GDP growth rate. Historically, even in the last 40 years, India's dollar GDP growth has averaged about 8.7%.
The financial sector is healthier than ever, with gross NPAs at a multi-decadal low of 2.2%. Over 55 crore Jan Dhan accounts have deepened inclusion, and more than 12 crore investors, a quarter of them women, are participating in India's markets. Exports are surging. India's share of global merchandise exports has nearly doubled, while services exports hit a record US dollars $387.6 billion. Remittances reached US dollars $135.4 billion, and foreign exchange reserves climbed to USD $701.4 billion, covering 11 months of imports.
The long-term answer is manufacturing competitiveness, exports, and in the short run, some developments may not be in our control, but more importantly, the fact that the rupee is not reflecting the macro fundamentals and the sustained growth rate will definitely catch the attention of some investors, and that is when the tide will turn.
Food grain output rose to 3,577 lakh metric tons, while schemes like PM Kisan have delivered over 4 lakh crore rupees directly to farmers. Manufacturing is thriving, with PLI schemes generating 18.7 lakh crore rupees in production and creating more than 12 lakh jobs.
In rural development, 81% of rural households now have access to tap water. 2.9 crore houses have been constructed and 2.76 crore property cards issued under Swamitwa. When it comes to healthcare, 14.3 crores beneficiaries registered on the UWIN portal, 42.8 crore Ayushman Bharat cards issued, 1.8 plus lakh Ayushman Arogya Mandirs operational.
India's infrastructure is expanding rapidly. High-speed corridors now span 5,364 kilometers. And airports have more than doubled since 2014. Education and healthcare are advancing with new IITs, IIMs and AIMS, and maternal mortality has fallen by 86% since 1990. The Economic Survey 2025-26 tells a clear story. India is not just growing, it is transforming. With strong fundamentals, inclusive policies and bold investments, the nation is on course to become truly indispensable to the global economy. Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's now turn to some more updates from the ground. Joining me is DD India correspondent Meghna Dev from Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Meghna, good morning. Ahmedabad is a hub of businesses and entrepreneurs. What expectations are you tracking from them and also individual taxpayers?
Yes, Subhendu, well, actually to say budget is expected to focus, for expectations, we see that the people expect more focus largely on manufacturing, renewable energy, MSMEs, the auto sector, but also to say that when we're talking about, boosting India's growth and development, while we actually talk about every budget which needs more focus on continuous growth and development, urban development, artificial intelligence, electronics, railways, and agriculture can be some more other, some other areas of focus. Besides that, I will, also try to tell you how different regions in Gujarat are having different expectations, because every area's USP and business sectors and the line of business is very different. For example, if we talk about the north of Gujarat, the Banaskantha region, there is more focus on animal husbandry, agriculture, and these sectors will have more expectations. We're talking about South Gujarat, where obviously the diamond market, the textile market, these businesses will have expectations. We're talking about Saurashtra, a place called Morbi, which is one of the biggest tile markets in India. So, different sectors will have different expectations. But besides that, when we are talking about Gujarat, the current big focus is on the semiconductor industry. What we also do see is that semiconductors, there has to be more capacity building to R&D is what I can, the industry is assuming, and I can tell you. But we also do see that, incentive given for maybe better R&D, better industry academia partnership, long-term financing mechanisms. These can help more semiconductor industries to come in Gujarat. We are going to see the Sanand facility of the Micron come in, in just some time from now. There are other major, major companies of semiconductors that have set up their different facilities here, fab facilities, final assembly lines, and much more here. But what more can, the government offer to the industries to bring them here is also something that the industry is looking forward to. Besides that, also we know that Gujarat's startup culture, the entrepreneurial spirit, youngsters will have a lot of expectations on what kind of incentives they will be getting when they begin incubation or they begin to work as bringing in new businesses, doing some innovation, solving some problem statements. So these are going to be important sectors, obviously very specific to who is in which sector. For example, we're talking about the textile sector. Surat is a massive textile hub. The traders there would definitely have more expectations, because now they're also talking about exporting a lot of, a lot of textiles. There's also the diamond traders, especially in the sector of lab-grown diamonds, is something that people would be wanting to listen to, because this is a new sector.
Right.
So this budget will give this sector more direction.
Right.
So these are some of the important sectors that we would, Gujarat would be looking out for specifically.
Right. A number of sectors that you mentioned, Meghna, we understand contribute significantly to the export basket of India. And with multiple FTAs being signed, the mother of all deals recently with EU, a lot of expectations also for new opportunities for export-led growth and what the budget may have for people engaged in this sector.
Subhendu, absolutely, because we see, when we see Gujarat's coastline, Gujarat has a huge coastline. We have ports. There's the Mundra port, there's the Kandla port. There are many ports from where a lot of exports happen. There are exim ports, where from the export-import happens. We are also talking about, in Gujarat specifically, the important sectors. When we're talking about dairy, we're talking about the blue economy, we're talking about agriculture, goods. We're also talking about what Gujarat manufactures. We recently saw the Vibrant Gujarat Regional Conference in January. We did see that a lot of interest from foreign investors was there, specifically in the sector of manufacturing. So that clearly tells a story that how prepared Gujarat is for the manufacturing sector. This has come obviously from the past 2 to 3 decades of continuous work that Gujarat has done to bring it up on the map. But not to also forget that how Gujarat is also generating a lot of revenue from the tourism sector. From, talking about Kutch, talking about Dwarka, Somnath, these places. Besides our different circuits, So how inbound tourism can also generate a lot of revenue. This is also something very important. So the tourism sector is massive and its potential cannot be ignored at all because this is also one of the sectors not only specific to Gujarat but specific to across India, which will have hopes because the tourism is something that generates continuous revenue, especially hyper locally. So this is something that is very important. And besides what we get to know from the industries, that they are basically trying to see if there can be more capex for growth, for infrastructure development, and also when we are talking about how to push exports and to expand exports to different countries. So this is also what will be important because Gujarat has massive manufacturing capacity, and getting in new companies is definitely important, but also expanding exports to different regions is also as important for existing markets, for existing companies. So this will be also something important. This budget will definitely, because since past a few years, there has been a lot of innovation, a lot of more new work that has come in. But which direction will it go? Will the industries and MSMEs be incentivized? Are they going to have more new, are they going to easily open up to new markets? Are they easily also going to have, the government is going to give them those kind of bridges so that they can, expand their export basket? So this is going to be something important. So definitely, specifically when we're talking about giving direction to new companies or probably the companies who have started in the recent past. We also have in-space here, which is obviously we know as a gateway for space startups. Space startups have recently been doing very well, when we are actually seeing important names like Bellatrix, Agnikul, and these startups. But more startups are continuously coming in the space sector as well. This is a massive sector, and I believe that India has only been able to tap a very little of the kind of market that the space sector carries. So what more incentivization or what more interest can this budget generate for space sector, which has a lot more potential, is also something that people would be looking forward to, specifically who are involved with space startups.
Right, lots of anticipation and expectations ahead of the budget. Meghna, good luck for the Budget Day coverage and thank you for joining us with those updates. Amid a challenging global environment, India continues to stand out as a bright spot for economic growth. Economic Survey 2025-26 notes robust infrastructure creation, expanding aviation capacity, growing renewable energy adoption, and a resilient external sector supported by strong FDI and record remittances. Here's more. India stands among the fastest growing major economies in the world and has recorded remarkable progress over the past 2 decades. The Economic Survey 2025-26 stated that World Bank ranks India among the top 5 countries globally in terms of private investment in infrastructure among low and middle income economies. India also emerged as the largest recipient of PPI investment in South Asia, accounting for over 90% of the region's total private infrastructure investment. This strong global standing is reflected domestically in the marked increase in project approvals by Public-Private Partnership Appraisal Committee. India has positioned itself as the world's 3rd largest domestic aviation market. The number of operational airports expanded from 74 in 2014 to 164 in 2025. In financial year 25, Indian airports handled 412 million passengers, a figure projected to rise to 665 million by financial year 31. Air cargo volumes similarly witnessed significant growth, increasing from 2.53 million metric tons in financial year 15 to 3.72 million metric tons in financial year 25. This rapid expansion has been driven by transformative policy initiatives and reforms, including the RCS Udan scheme, the Greenfield Airport Policy, airport modernization and capacity expansion programs, digital and technological initiatives such as DigiYatra, liberalized drone regulations, and key legislative measures including Bharatiya Vayuyan Vidhayak 2024 and the Protection of Interests in Aircraft Objects Act 2025, as noted in the survey. India's energy sector is undergoing a structural transformation, with renewable energy accounting for approximately 49.83% of the total power generation capacity as of November 2025. The country ranks third globally in overall renewable energy capacity and installed solar capacity, and fourth in installed wind capacity. Total renewable energy capacity has increased more than threefold over the past decade, underscoring India's commitment to sustainable growth.
If renewable energy were to become a significant part of the energy picture, we need to understand the ramifications. The amount of material required and the energy required to therefore generate renewable energy should not be underestimated. We should go into it with open eyes.
The survey further observes that India remained the world's largest recipient of remittances, with inflows reaching $135.4 billion in financial year 25, thereby supporting stability in the external sector. Gross investment inflows remained robust at 18.5% of the GDP in financial year 25. India continued to be the largest recipient of gross FDI inflows in South Asia. The country emerged as the leading destination for greenfield digital investments between 2020 and 2024, attracting $114 billion. During April to November 2025, gross FDI inflows strengthened further to $64.7 billion. India's foreign exchange reserves rose to $701.4 billion as of 16th January this year. The economic survey underscores that India's infrastructure strategy in recent years represents a decisive shift towards scale, integration and quality, with sustained public capital expenditure acting as a powerful catalyst for economic growth. Despite a challenging global environment, India continues to be the fastest growing major economy, supported by strong agricultural performance and sustained momentum in the services sector, which have effectively offset the moderation observed in industrial activity. Bureau Report, DD India. Micro, small and medium enterprises continue to be the backbone of India's economy and one of the biggest sources of employment. Expectations are rising for stronger government support to boost the MSME growth, create jobs and ease access to credit. The government has already taken a number of steps in this direction, with more measures likely in the upcoming budget. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay brings us more. Industry leaders across sectors are looking to the government for stronger support to India's small businesses. From easier access to credit to improved insurance coverage, the focus remains firmly on strengthening micro, small and medium enterprises, the backbone of Indian economy. Experts believe the upcoming budget presents an opportunity to make lending and insurance more affordable, more digital and more inclusive, particularly for smaller enterprises operating with limited financial buffers.
Public sector banks continue to face capital constraints, partly because their FDI limit is capped to 20%, which is materially lower than 74% permitted for private sector banks. Now, raising this limit would help expand the system's capacity to push priority sector into sectors that are both underserved and which are employment incentive.
The Government of India already announced a significant push to strengthen micro, small and medium enterprises, a key driver of job creation and economic growth. In a major policy move, the Union Cabinet has approved an equity infusion of Rs 5,000 crore into the Small Industries Development Bank of India, SIDBI. The capital support is aimed at expanding the flow of credit to MSMEs, making loans more accessible and affordable for small businesses across the country. The equity infusion will be released in phases over 3 years, Rs 3,000 crore in the current financial year, followed by 1,000 crore rupees each in the next 2 years. Officials say the move will significantly widen SIDBI's lending capacity, enabling cheaper and larger credit disbursements for MSMEs. Government data shows there are nearly 6.9 crore MSMEs in India, generating employment for more than 30 crore people. The planned expansion in credit access is expected to benefit around 25.74 lakh MSMEs, translating into over 1.12 crore new jobs by the financial year 2027-28.
As we talk about Viksit Bharat, we often think of highways, factories, and digital infrastructure. But this vision also includes a thriving creative economy and strongly encouraged by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji and his government. In that broader nation-building story, there is a new growth engine already in our hands. Microdramas, quietly creating the next wave of jobs in India's entertainment ecosystem.
The upcoming union budget is expected to address these concerns through targeted incentives, improved ease of doing business, and potential relief measures aimed at reducing costs for small enterprises as they scale up operations.
With more credit support and tax relief, government aims to boost MSME sectors through investment and creating job opportunities. With camera person Rajkumar, this is Rahul Upadhyay reporting from New Delhi for DD India.
As India advances towards Viksit Bharat vision, developed India vision, the union budget is poised to sustain and strengthen investments in education and healthcare, the bedrock of human capital, inclusive growth and long-term national prosperity. Antara Sinha gets us more in this report.
In education, the momentum from the Union Budget 2025-26, where the Ministry of Education secured a historic allocation, sets a strong foundation. The Department of School Education and Literacy received its highest ever allocation to advance universal access and quality. Expectations center on continued emphasis on the National Education Policy 2020 through the expansion of initiatives such as Atal Tinkering Labs in government schools over the medium term to nurture innovation and STEM proficiency, accelerating the extension of broadband connectivity to government secondary schools and primary health centers through an expanded BharatNet rollout for enhanced digital access. Rollout of the Bharatiya Bhasha Pustak scheme to deliver digital textbooks in Indian languages for school and higher education, and strengthening the scope and funding of the Center of Excellence in Artificial Intelligence for Education. Further anticipated priorities include capacity augmentation across IITs and the creation of multiple national centers of excellence for skilling aligned with global partnerships and enhanced support for research fellowships and the preservation of Indian knowledge systems aimed at equipping youth for a dynamic, technology-led economy. In healthcare, building on the Union Budget 2025-26 allocation to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, the focus is expected to intensify toward the National Health Policy target of elevating public health spending. Key schemes likely to see sustained momentum include the National Health Mission for bolstering primary and secondary care, expanding Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, and accelerating medical education with additions toward the 5-year goal of 75,000 seats. Complementary efforts under Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission are anticipated to advance critical care infrastructure, Ayushman Arogya Mandir Health and Wellness Centers, disease surveillance, rural-urban facility upgrades, daycare cancer centers in district hospitals, broadband connectivity to primary health centers, and preventive digital health integration to minimize out-of-pocket expenses and broaden equitable access.
The government continues to place education and healthcare at the very heart of its very vision of a developed India. These critical sectors remain central to empowering each and every citizen from every walk of life. With a decisive investment in its people, the budget aims to secure quality education, accessible healthcare, and inclusive prosperity, paving a clearer path to a Viksit Bharat. With camera person Vinay Kumar Tiwari, this is Antara Sinha for DD India.
And those were some exclusive stories by DD India on the upcoming budget. Stay tuned to DD India for the continuous and comprehensive coverage of Union Budget 2026-27. Moving on to some other stories, in a significant move to bolster strategic ties, India and the League of Arab States on Saturday adopted the New Delhi Declaration following the second India-Arab Foreign Ministers meeting. The high-level summit held on January 31st saw both sides reaffirming zero-tolerance approach towards terrorism and calling for an urgent overhaul of the UNSC to reflect contemporary global realities. The meeting was co-chaired by India's External Affairs Minister and attended by foreign ministers from Arab states and Secretary General of League of Arab States. Delhi Declaration condemned cross-border terrorism and called on all states to refrain from using terrorism against other states, urging all states to work collectively to combat terror. The two sides agreed to strengthen their joint efforts to counter terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Arab foreign ministers strongly condemned the heinous terrorist attack in Pahalgam that targeted innocent Indian tourists and reaffirmed their steadfast support for India. Both sides expressed deep concern for terrorist groups misusing drones and advanced technologies for propaganda, recruitment and trafficking of weapons and drugs. They committed to decisive action against globally proscribed terrorists and their proxies, specifically referencing those under UNSC 1267 Sanctions Committee. Both sides called for expansion of permanent and non-permanent UNSC membership to reflect contemporary reality. The Arab side lauded India's leadership in hosting the Voice of Global South summits and agreed that Global South can help build a fairer and more representative multilateral system. The declaration scheduled several key engagements, including the first India-Arab Tourism Working Group and Health Partnership Conference in 2026. Looking further ahead, the first India-Arab Startup Conclave and Space Cooperation Working Group are set for 2027, followed by third ministerial meeting in 2028. External Affairs Minister of India thanked Arab nations for hosting over 9 million Indian nationals, describing the diaspora as a living bridge between the two regions. An External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar addressed the opening session where he stressed that resolving conflict in Gaza is a top priority. The minister underlined that conflicts in Sudan, Yemen, Lebanon and Libya also require collective regional and international attention.
We meet at an important juncture where the global order is undergoing transformation for a variety of reasons. Nowhere is this more apparent than in West Asia or the Middle East, where the landscape itself has undergone a dramatic change in the last year. The situation in Gaza, in particular, has been the focus for the international community. Taking forward the comprehensive plan to end the Gaza conflict is today a widely shared priority.
Highlighting the human dimension of India-Arab ties, the External Affairs Minister noted that the region hosts one of the largest expatriate communities, making stability and cooperation a mutual necessity.
The India-Arab Cooperation Forum serves as a platform to give our positive sentiments a practical shape. It currently covers energy, environment, agriculture, tourism, human resource development, culture and education, amongst others. India looks forward to a more contemporary dimension of cooperation being included, such as digital, space, startups, innovation, etc.
Earlier on Saturday, Prime Minister Modi met with the delegation of foreign ministers of Arab countries, Secretary General of the League of Arab States and heads of Arab delegations who are in India for the second India-Arab Foreign Ministers meeting. During the meet, Prime Minister highlighted deep and historic people-to-people ties between India and Arab world, which have continued to inspire and strengthen relations over the years. Prime Minister outlined his vision for India-Arab partnership in years ahead and reaffirmed India's commitment to further deepen cooperation in trade and investment, energy, technology, healthcare and other priority areas for the mutual benefit of the peoples. Prime Minister Modi reiterated India's continued support for the people of Palestine and welcomed ongoing peace efforts, including the Gaza Peace Plan. He conveyed his appreciation for important role played by the Arab League in supporting efforts towards regional peace and stability. And we're heading for a short break. There's more coming up.
Take a front seat to witness the grandeur that
Today, we try to answer a key question. Is there a cleaner, affordable and eco-friendly way to travel?
Air quality has deteriorated significantly over the past 10 years. The reason? The increase in road traffic.
The train is powered by green hydrogen, a renewable fuel that promises to reduce climate-damaging CO2 emissions, so that green hydrogen becomes a real alternative to fossil fuels. Both countries have a joint green hydrogen roadmap to increase production and reduce the reliance on fossil fuels.
I think there should be a lot more built-out pavements with green space in it. This road is extremely long and is lovely for walking and cycling, but there's nowhere to sit.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Amid tensions rising between Iran and the United States for weeks, an Iranian official has said that work on framework for negotiations with the US is progressing. A top Iranian security officials wrote on social media X on Saturday that contrary to the atmosphere being created by artificial media warfare, the formation of a structure for negotiation is underway. Earlier, on a visit to Turkey on Friday, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi told reporters that Iran has no problem with negotiations, but negotiations cannot take place under the shadow of threats. Besides, regional allies like Turkey, UAE and Saudi Arabia have also been engaging in diplomatic efforts to prevent any military confrontation between the United States and Tehran. Meanwhile, US is demanding that Iran curb its missile program if the two nations are to resume talks. Iran has rejected that demand. The top United States envoy to Venezuela, Laura Dogu, arrived in Caracas on Saturday as Washington and Caracas continue to restore diplomatic relations that had been severed since 2019. Dogu, a former ambassador to Honduras and Nicaragua, posted on X that my team and I are ready to work after landing, and was received by Venezuelan Foreign Minister Juan Gil in efforts to establish a roadmap on bilateral interests through diplomacy, while the two countries, following years of rupture and recent political developments, have agreed to boost Venezuelan crude exports to the US, and Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, has proposed an amnesty law and other reforms as ties between the nations gradually improve. Thousands of protesters marched in Minneapolis on Saturday to oppose the Trump administration's expanded immigration enforcement surge in the city, following two recent deadly incidents involving the federal agents. Organized by local advocacy groups, the demonstration came after a Minnesota federal judge declined to halt the operation despite acknowledging evidence of serious harm, including deaths of Rennie Good and Alex Pretty earlier in January. Critics have condemned the federal crackdown for racial profiling and unlawful detentions, while demonstrators have vowed to continue protesting, emphasizing the need for alternatives to what they called violent enforcement tactics. Dozens of protesters staged a sit-in inside a Target store, urging the Minneapolis-based retailer to protect its workers from federal immigration agents, singing, "We shall not be moved." and carrying anti-ice signs. They gathered near the cash registers and called on the company to do the right thing as part of a broader backlash to national enforcement surge that has seen thousands of federal officers deployed in and around the city. Thousands of cyclists gathered at Washburn Fair Oaks Park on Friday to honor Alex Petty. Participants pedaled through the city streets with cheering bystanders, celebrating Petty's love of cycling while voicing outrage at his death, framing the ride as both a tribute and a protest, tying his killing to wider concerns about federal immigration enforcement and public safety in Minneapolis. In sports, India defeated New Zealand by 46 runs in Thiruvananthapuram on Saturday to seal a 4-1 series win. The host had sealed the series by winning the first 3 games before the Black Caps registered a consolation victory. In the final game in Thiruvananthapuram, Ishan Kishan smashed a 42-ball 100 as India showcased their batting firepower. Kishan clobbered 10 sixes in an incendiary 103 of just 43 balls to anchor India's imposing 271 for 5 at Greenfield International Stadium. Surya Kumar Yadav scored 63 of 30 balls, while Hardik Pandya chipped in with a rapid 42 of just 17 balls. In a chase, New Zealand got off to a fairy start led by Finn Allen's explosive 80 of 38, but they lost the plot after his dismissal. After spinner Akshar Patel removed Allen and Glenn Phillips, Seema Arshdeep demolished the New Zealand middle order to claim his maiden 5-wicket haul in T20 internationals. In tennis, world number 5 Elena Rybakina produced a thunderous display to dismantle the top-ranked Aryna Sabalenka on Saturday to capture her maiden Australian Open title. Rybakina turned the tables on the world number 1 in their Melbourne Park final rematch from 3 years ago. In the first Grand Slam final since 2008, featuring players yet to drop a set, it was top seed Sabalenka who blinked first under Rod Laver Arena roof as Rybakina came out all guns blazing to break in the opening game and won the first set 6-4. Sabalenka rode back to win the second set 6-4 and soared into the dominant 3-0 lead in the deciding third set. However, Rybakina broke Sabalenka twice in a row to turn the scales and win the third set 6-4. This becomes Rybakina's first Australian Open crown and the second Grand Slam of her career. For Sabalenka, it's the second successive Australian Open final defeat. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan this QR code on the screen and download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.